Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
How are you all?
Fine.
Fine. Pasha, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
நல்லா இருக்கோம். நீங்க எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
இருக்குமா? Very good. நௌஷாத் பாய் இருக்காரு, அமைதியா இருக்காரு ஊர்ல இருந்துட்டு.
சைலண்டா சினர்ஜி பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு.
Very good.
Excellent. So, start பண்ணலாமா இல்ல
ஒரு 5 minutesல ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவோம்.
Okay, no problem.
End of the meeting எப்படியும் வந்து எல்லாரும் காசு உண்டாக்குறதுக்கு கொண்டு வந்து நிப்பாட்டிடுவீங்க.
அதுக்கு தான் முயற்சி பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
இல்ல வெரி குட்.
ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிருக்க ஏற்கனவே ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிட்ட வந்து கிளீனிங் நடக்கும். ஒரு சதாதை கொண்டு வந்து பூராத்தையும் போட்டு காலி பண்ணிட்டாரு எல்லாத்தையும். 24/7 இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கிரெடிட் வருதுல எல்லா எம்ப்ளாய் இருக்கும். எல்லாம் பயங்கரமா எம்ப்ளாய் இருக்கும். சதாதை இன்ஸ்டன்ட் பண்ணி காமிச்சிருக்காரு.
சதாதை இன்சென்டிவ்
அத 24/7 எப்ப ஆக்க போறீங்க?
இதுவா இன்ஸ்டன்ட் பேமெண்ட் சொல்றீங்களா?
ஆமாமா.
நவம்பர் 29th நினைக்கிறேன். 28th or yeah something they are going live.
Okay.
I'm no more part of Sadad anyway. I have only contacts there.
But Alilma, there is a project with the Dubai company, no? They have started a company in Dubai or no? Only Sima is involved in that.
No. Alilma pure semi-government company. PAF owned, so they don't operate in other countries. But they have international division, so they do business with the international companies and international countries.
So we'll go ahead, Shaul, or we wait?
Hello, sorry, it was unmuted for me.
Hello?
No, it was muted for me all this time. Sorry, please.
You want to mute? Okay. Is it driving?
Driving, Naushad bhai.
All right, fine.
Yes. Good.
Shall we start, Shaul? Shaul? Shaul, I think we can start. I sent you some message on your personal thing. Yes, I have a look at it.
Yeah, I saw it. I replied back. Yeah.
Just in case.
Imtiaz bhai.
Okay. Shall we start, Shaul?
Start பண்ணிடுவோம்.
Okay. Okay, proceed, please.
இந்த இணையவழி தமிழ் அரப் பிசினஸ் ஃபாரத்தின் கூட்டத்திற்கு இணைந்திருக்கும் உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் ஏக இறைவனின் சாந்தியும் சமாதானமும் உண்டாவதாக என வேண்டி இந்த கூட்டத்தை ஆரம்பித்து வைக்கிறேன். இன்றைய நம்மளுடைய பேசு பொருள் FinTech, Financial and Technology Innovation in the ஒரு மெர்ஜான ஒரு ஃபீல்டை பத்தி அந்த ஃபீல்டுடைய எக்ஸ்பர்ட் வந்து பேச வந்திருக்காங்க. இது பர்டிகுலரா இதனுடைய தேவைகள் வந்து பெரிய பெரிய கம்பெனிகளுக்கு இருக்கோ இல்லையோ, நம்மள மாதிரி வந்து எஸ்எம்இஸ்க்கு வந்து அது கண்டிப்பா ஒரு காலத்தின் தேவையா அது வந்து இருக்குது. அந்த ஒரு காரணத்தை முன்னிட்டு அவரை வந்து அவருடைய டைட் ஷெடியூலுக்கு இடையில நம்ம பேச அழைச்சிருக்கோம். முதலில் இன்றைய பேச்சாளர், இன்றைய பிரசன்டர், எக்ஸ்பர்ட் முகமது பாஷா அவர்களை வருக என வரவேற்கிறேன். அதற்கு அடுத்தபடியாக இணைய வழியாக உலகின் பல நாடுகள்ல இருந்து இங்க நம்ம தாய் தமிழ் சொந்தங்கள் வந்து இணைஞ்சிருக்காங்க. இந்த மீட்டிங் வந்து ஒரு தமிழ் இங்கிலீஷ் ரெண்டும் கலந்த ஒரு போர்வையில தான் போகும். சில டெக்னாலஜி பிரசன்டர், எக்ஸ்பர்ட் யாரு உலகின் பல நாடுகள்ல இருந்து இங்க நம்ம தாய் தமிழ் சொந்தங்கள் வந்து இந்த மீட்டிங் வந்து ஒரு தமிழ் இங்கிலீஷ் ரெண்டும் கலந்த ஒரு போர்வையில நான் பேசுறதே ரிப்பீட் ஆகுது. ஓகே. எல்லாருக்கும் வந்து இந்த மீட்டிங்ல வந்து கொஞ்சம் சின்சியரா நோட்ஸ் எடுக்கணும். ஏன்னா பணம் சம்பந்தப்பட்ட விஷயம், அதனால கொஞ்சம் நோட்ஸ் எடுத்துக்கிட்டு இதை வந்து எவ்வளவு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா நம்ம வந்து இது கேட்டு அதுல இருந்து பயன்பெற வேண்டி உங்கள் அனைவரையும் வரவேற்று வாழ்த்தி இந்த மீட்டிங்கை அபிஷியலாக ஆரம்பித்து வைக்கிறேன். அதற்கு அடுத்தபடியாக ஒரு நம்மளுடைய இன்றைய பேச்சாளரை பற்றிய ஒரு அறிமுக உரையை தமிழ் அரா பிசினஸ் ஃபாரம் டேப் வைஸ் பிரசிடென்ட் மிஸ்டர் வெற்றிவேல் அவர்கள் உங்கள் முன் எடுத்துரைப்பார்கள்.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். எல்லோரும் வருக என்று வரவேற்கிறேன். திரு முகமது பாஷா அவர்களை பற்றி ஆங்கிலத்திலேயே வாசித்து விடுகிறேன். Attitude result-driven IT professional with solid history of managing and delivering complex IT projects in varied technologies and domains. A manager research initiative provide strategic research leadership and innovative customer solutions. Proven success of building growing service organizations and directing cross-functional teams while delivering enterprise solutions, implementation of projects with responsibility for customer satisfaction. Hands-on experience on knowledge delivery, program management, client management, solution architecture, implementation, business development, consulting, delivery strategies, contract negotiation, budgeting, pre-sales and solution design management. Specialized in FinTech. ஆக்ஸ்போர்ட்ல வந்து ஒரு FinTech கோர்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு வந்திருக்காரு லேட்டஸ்டா. Specialized in FinTech with accomplishment of introducing and promoting FinTech solutions within the organization, poised for the next level of success in a reputable organization to meet corporate objectives. His first project in Saudi Arabia, you may all aware of about the Sadat project. That is direct payment to the subscribers. Whoever is having account with STC, telephone bill, everything directly you are paying. Whoever is subscriber of Sadat will get that payment into their account directly from their subscribers. So this is possible because of his project. It's a very nice project. And he is awarded as a best employee award in the Infosys. How many of you know? I don't know. But he has completed the FinTech course and he is going to talk about FinTech with us, among us today. Thank you very much. I call Mr. Muhammad Basha.
Yeah. Before that, இன்னைக்கு உள்ள மீட்டிங் வந்து மாடரேட் பண்ணி கொண்டு போறதுக்கு நம்ம தமிழ் அரா பிசினஸ் ஃபாரத்தின் டேப்னுடைய பிசினஸ் ஃபாரத்தினுடைய செயலாளர் இந்த மீட்டிங் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி கடந்த 2 நாளா அதுக்கு பின்னால இருந்துட்டு செயல்படக்கூடிய செயலாளர் சகோதரர் மாலிக் இப்ராஹிம் வந்து இந்த மீட்டிங்கை மாடரேட் பண்ணுவாங்க. மிஸ்டர் மாலிக் இப்ராஹிம், ஓவர் டு யூ அண்ட் பாஷா ப்ளீஸ்.
Thank you, President. மகிழ்ச்சி. FinTech இது எல்லாத்துக்கும் ஒரு புது வேர்ட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். நிறைய பேருக்கு தெரியும், ஃபுல்லா தெரியும், இல்ல பல பேருக்கு சுத்தமா தெரியாது. ஆனா ஏதோ ஒண்ணு போயிட்டு இருக்குன்னு மட்டும் தெரியும். ஸோ அந்த விதத்துல நம்ம பார்க்கும்போது தெரியாமலே நம்ம குழுமத்திலேயே வந்துட்டு ஒரு நண்பர் அதை பத்தி ஒரு அது ரொம்ப ஆழமா டீப்பா போயிட்டு அதை சர்வீஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காருங்கும் போது ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமா இருந்தது. ஸோ அவரை பேஸ் பண்ணி தான் இன்னைக்கு இந்த மீட்டிங்கும் நம்ம ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கோம். பாஷா ஒரு நம்மளுடைய நெருங்கிய நண்பர், சிறந்த பண்பாளர் அப்படின்னு கூட நம்ம சொல்லலாம். ஏன்னா பல விதங்கள்ல பல கூற்றுகள்ல நமக்கு உறுதுணையா நின்றுருக்காரு. ஸோ இதனால ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு அனுபவம் இருக்கு அவருக்கு. Further, okay, let us go directly to the subject. So Basha is going to give the complete overview about FinTech and its opportunities in the present world. So he will touch the major portions, and he will also enlighten us what are the opportunities available right now in Saudi Arabia to make this opportunity further. So I welcome Basha to begin your presentation. But before that one, so your screen is enabled, Basha? Basha?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine. So before that one, just enlighten us, what is FinTech? So I know you are a techie guy, so it's easy for you guys, but naanga konjam techie ulla edila irukrom. So just enlighten us, what is really FinTech is?
Good evening, everyone, and Assalamu alaikum to everyone. First of all, foremost, I want to thank you all distinguished members of the TAB Forum as well for inviting me to give an opportunity to present about the FinTech and create just an awareness about FinTech and make use of the development in the current market trends, particularly post-COVID situation, So, so this is an excellent opportunity so that we can, I feel this is the right time that we can discuss over it. That's why I would appreciate that, the choice of choosing this particular topic at this right moment. Regarding coming back to the question, with the FinTech, I would like to start sharing my screen
Okay,
so that I can start with the presentation itself.
Can you make it a full screen, Basha?
I'm just trying to do it here. Okay, so
is it full screen or it's only the?
This is the first screen, yes, of course.
No, full screen. I want to make it a full screen.
It's a full screen, yeah.
Good.
Okay, so FinTech. What is FinTech? It's a good question. This today, what we discuss is basically a general awareness. It's not too depth or not too vague. It's like a moderate level of information that I'm going to present, so that everyone understand in a better way. Because some people who is aware of FinTech, maybe this is a redundant information. Somebody who is not aware of FinTech, this could be a complicated information to digest to at first. So if you feel free to ask questions. I'm ready to clarify that. So I'm trying to make sure this is basically a moderate level of information that I'm going to share, so we can make use of this information and take next actions, how it suits us better and different perspective. Okay, coming back to this question, Malik, what is FinTech? FinTech, as Brother rightly said, it's basically a combination of finance and technology. People may ask, okay, what is, it's already there, finance, and all the banks and every financial institution works with technology, right? So what is FinTech, new in it, okay? So you do look back in the technology. Technology is something, if you see the last 30, 40 years, how the technology evolved, okay? How the banking was before internet came in, how it became after internet came in 90s and 2000s. And now in 2010s, this decade is technically called a decade of disruption, right? So it means that all the disruptive technologies had come to the forefront in this decade, where the financial domain or financial world take use of this technology, disruptive technologies, to really come up with the new products and solutions, or improved products of existing solutions to customers through an innovative approach. Okay, and you embedding this technology and deliver as a service to the customers. Target selected customers. That's the key here. Okay. What is the key objective of fintech? Now, everything has an reason, right? Why fintech become popular in the first place? Because anyway you have a banks, anyway you have finance institutions, anyway you have lenders, everything is there. So why fintechs become successful? The key objective, these are the primary three key objectives of fintech. First is financial inclusion. Okay. Because, for example, take an example of Saudi Arabia. I'm not talking about any other country, just take an example of Saudi Arabia. Almost 28%, close to 28% of people are unbanked. Can you believe it? Means they do not have any bank account itself. Okay? So this represents the state of affairs of the banking system right now. So how to engage these people into the mainstream financial? So this is one of the key reasons why a fintech can support. And the second thing is the cashless economy, drive towards cashless economy. So we have a parallel economy, which is a cash-based economy, which doesn't come into the mainstream accounting itself. In every country faces this particular problem. So now, because there's no digitalization of this of the transactions. So now this fintech is drive through for digitalization of all the transactions. So that resulting in a cashless economy. That's what all the countries are striving for, including India, Saudi Arabia, and everyone is pushing towards cashless economy. And the third one is the most important one, which is the customer convenience. Okay, for example, I tell you, before Sadat came, like brother mentioned about Sadat, before Sadat came, for example, if you want to make a penalties, a traffic penalty, a violation or anything like that, how difficult it was, or visa fees, how difficult it was. You had to go and stand in a big queue, you had to wait for hours, you need to sacrifice sometime office times. It's a pain, After Sadat came in, it's a matter of convenience. Just sitting in your office desktop, you can just, or at home, you can do all these transactions very simply, easily, within minutes, you can do it. So this is of the fintech. So you are creating customer convenience, particularly in the context of personalized services, because this new generation is looking forward, particularly call it as Facebook or Apple generation, which they want customized solutions for them. They don't want any generic solutions. Okay, who is going to provide? Which bank is going to provide a customized solution for different individual customers? If you have a retail customer, do you think a bank will have a different services for different types of customer? Same services? No, they don't do it generally. Okay, so this customer personalized services fintech only can offer, and also disaggregation of services. What is disaggregation of services? That it means that, like a bank has multiple services. A bank is like an elephant, it's like a massive. It has so many services. Retail banking, investment banking, corporate banking. There are so many things and so many services under each umbrella of those banking. So it's very, very complicated. Okay? But now fintech comes in and helps the banks. Actually, it also enables the banks, and sometimes banks themselves support fintech towards this to outsource some of the services. Excuse me. Outsource some of the services. That's called disaggregation services on the context of a specific customer segments. So this is the key nutshell of fintech, if you understood. Am I clear on this, or you need any further clarification?
Yeah, but it's still vague for us because we are new to this subject. However, we understood the basic knowledge. So any further questions, we will take it into the question answer session at the end. So for that, just to if you have any questions on the whole presentation, please send a message privately to the President, Shah Hamid. Please go ahead with your next level of presentation.
Thank you. I think so far I made it very clear about the fintech. So I will repeat again, nutshell. A fintech is the combination of finance and the emerging technologies or innovative, disruptive technologies. Particularly an example, I would say, you must have heard about technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, IoT, etc. So this kind of technologies culminating with the existing financial world derives this particular new umbrella system called financial fintech. Okay.
Yeah,
so why we called us fintech? Now we describe about the fintech and why fintech. Why do we need fintech? Okay, fine. I just mentioned a little bit, but I want a little bit and I'll give more information about it. So why fintech? We need to have adoption of the technologies. So technology is the driving factor. One of the key things here, for example, to say in this decade, there is a tremendous amount of data. Data is the next oil. That's what people used to say, right? So it's a tremendous amount of data available. How to leverage this data? How to provide us services based on this data? Okay, this is just one example I'm telling. So how do you do that? And how do you more safe and secure transactions? How to be much faster transactions and cheaper transactions, cheaper services? How can offer? Okay? These kind of things FinTech provides us. That's the reason people want to adopt FinTech. Okay? You take an example of security. In security, right now, how you do secure, of course, banking system are secure, but however, they don't adopt very latest technologies on security point of view. For example, let's say they don't use not many banks use this kind of biometric. Biometric per se means about facial recognition, about iris, and also the new powerful technology, which is biometric technology, is the palm vein. Palm vein is something which has been evolving these days. How much are they using? However, a FinTech starts using this technology. So that's how they evolve. Means that you don't need to worry about KYC, fraud detection. Everything has been taken care of by this technology itself. Nobody can need to personally go and visit any of the banks or any financial institutions to really to validate yourself. So everything is automated completely. That's the reason we need FinTech here. Okay? And as I mentioned earlier, we need to have customized solutions for different kinds of customer segments. For example, say I'm a student, what kind of services I can offer for a student? I'm a millennial, what kind of service I can offer millennials? I'm a businessman, with a high net worth. So how do you offer services for that kind of segment? So we need to have a different set of solutions for different set of customers, and so that they are happy with these particular services. Okay, and so economic growth as well. So this FinTech triggers economic growth. How it triggers economic growth? I mean, say, as I mentioned earlier, it's digitizes everything. So transactions are digitized. So everything is transparent. Everything is accountable. So it means that the economy is considering those transactions, those values, and the GDP certainly has growth. And another most important feature. Actually, I mix both Tamil and English, right?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, முக்கியமான consider access to the funds. Okay, most of the businesses, particularly marginal businesses, small and medium business segments, and the area around it, mostly banks tend to loan வாங்குறது, borrow பண்றது. It's a difficult task. It takes time consuming, and you're addicted to the terms and everything. So it's like a pain for most of the business people. So, but this FinTech makes it very simple and easy for access to these funds. Simply, this is one of the key reasons why FinTech is thriving. Okay? And as I mentioned earlier, financial inclusion, it covers all segments of people, the marginals, underbanked, unbanked, underbanked people. I hope you understand unbanked. Unbanked is basically like people don't have bank account, and underbanked is basically people who has bank account, but they are not using effectively all the services offered by the banks. Okay, so these kind of people segments are very huge. So they are all covered under this particular umbrella of FinTech, and they are serviced accordingly to their needs, different kinds of needs. And the last but not least, the infrastructure. This is a very key area, which is supportive for the existing growth of the financial industry. That's why we need FinTech, and that's the reason FinTech is growing very faster. Now I'll go to a slide wherein I will tell you what is the impact of FinTech in the growth and the worldwide. Okay, for example, how much capital has been invested in 2018 was the peak period. Well, of course, 2019 is also close to that, little less than that. In 2020, this report is primarily from the Q2 of 2020. So means that even Q2 itself, they almost reached close to $180 billion investment. Of course, due to COVID, there could be a little slump. As anyway, it's expected to recover. And the number of transactions per se, you can see plenty of transactions. So you see almost in 2018, if you get 6,000, almost close to 6,000 deals have been done in that one single year. FinTech deals have been done, and it's been growing. I mean, almost to that range, more or less. So that's how the growth of fintech compared to 10 years back, where in 2010, it's hardly $40 billion is the capital invested over there. So it's almost 6 times.
You mean to say that even during the COVID time, the transaction has gone up, or it's
it is growing. Yes, this report, as I mentioned, about almost close to $180 billion of capitals invested in the fintech companies, because means that fintech companies are raising the fund, through different kind of funding mechanisms. So the total close to $180 billion will be invested worldwide in fintech until Q2 of 2020, in just 6 months. So means that in this last 6 months now, I mean, still one more quarter is pending. So it's expected to probably grow further. Although there will be a expected slump due to the COVID-19 impact. But anyways, it's supposed to recover faster, because the reason why it is like it never went down much is majority of share in the fintech space is occupied by payments, money transfers, and lending, alternative lending space. So this is basically lending is kind of crippled a little bit, but payment space is not much of impact. So that's why still it is thriving.
Okay.
Going to the Saudi context. So I just want to emphasize on the Saudi Arabian point of view, how exactly fintech. Saudi actually, in a way, it's a late starter for the fintech, compared to the other regional competitors, particularly UAE and other countries, Middle Eastern countries. Saudi is late starter, but however, picking up very fast. If you see this year alone, they have done almost 262 deals totally we done 262 deals. So in Saudi Arabia in the last 4 to 5 years, and actually it's as a peak. The reason being is the SAMA had framed all the what do you call it as the supportive systems, the licensing mechanisms, everything, and around after 2016 only they started framing those things and start issuing licenses since 2018. So that's the reason a lot of companies are still still at the early stage of the in the country. So, but however, there are very promising companies out there. We see the total funding in Saudi Arabia for fintech itself is around $332 million so far have been invested. So it's quite a big number for the country like Saudi Arabia, which is a late starter in the fintech. And I would just want to show this the impact of fintech means customer adoption. What we saw is the kind of investors' point of view, because investors' point of view is very key to understand the growth of the industry, because the investors will not put their money somewhere without hoping for any growth, right? So if you say I'm investing $300 billion, means that they expect something, like they expect the business to grow, obviously, right? So that's the promising. That's the reason I mentioned those slides, wherein it's a promising area wherein people can confidently go and invest, and it's supposed to grow because it's far away from saturation. Fintech is very far from saturation, and in the context of Saudi Arabia, this is a very early stage, and this is a right moment really for anybody who wants to either invest, do startup, or act as a consumer for those fintech solutions itself. And now, regarding the consumer point of view, the adoption, which if you see the countries, which is the other 27 countries across the world, which is very pioneers in fintech, I would say, how much is the adoption rate? If you see, India and China are the highest adopters of fintech, without even knowing they're using fintech probably. I mean, almost all of us will be using fintech in one way or other without even knowing we are using fintech. So for example, India, a number one fintech company in India is Paytm. I think pretty sure many people in India will be using Paytm, right? So China, of course, China, for example, they have multiple payment wallets in China. Like WeChat is a very normal payment app they use.
Okay, I have a small clarification on this one. If you see that numbers, the first two places are the growing economy or the second economy, and the last two places are the developed economy. So what is the correlation between this thing? Contradicting how it is?
Yeah. Good question, actually. The reason being is, I would say this way. See, in 80s and 90s, when internet revolutions happen, all the technology developments happen, those in developed countries adopted adopted certain best practices for the payments and other financial products. I will not call fintech, but financial, for example, lending and all those things. But now, but in developing countries, we are not matching at that point of time to the other part. But while they were moving towards that, the fintech came in, the new disruptive technology came in, wherein they jumped that bandwagon directly into the fintech space instead of migrating from that stage to the developed economy stage. Directly they went into the fintech mode compared to the developed countries. For example, if you go to United States, the adoption of fintech is relatively less compared to India and China. The reason being is they already use a kind of plastic cards, and it's become a part of their culture. Like Americans, they say, oh, they will not do anything without the plastic cards. Simple. This is that term. But however, things are expected to change eventually, and they are growing. Apple Pay itself had grown more in outside US than in US initially. Okay, so this is how their adoption is. But now, after COVID, particularly as per the study, people are slowly moving towards the contactless payments. I mean, through wallets and through fintech solutions. That's how they're moving. Again, I'm talking only on the payment side. There are many other areas which you will eventually see part of this session.
Okay.
Fintech space.
This
still they have to adopt it still eventually.
Sorry.
So, but it's excuse me. Yeah, please.
Sorry. So you're talking about the landscape will be different on fintech. This is what you're coming to say there. அதோட பேசிஸ் ஒரு பகுதியா இருந்தாலும் அதோட பரப்பு வந்துட்டு வேற மாதிரி தான் போகும். This is what you are coming to say.
Kandiba, because they have different kinds of because they have a robust credit rating mechanism. They have a robust lending mechanism. For example, in Saudi Arabia, in the banking is much more efficient compared to some of the other countries. Because for example, if everything is perfect, you can get a loan approved within a day, single day. Where in like countries like India, it's unimaginable. Okay, so I'm talking about conventional banks itself. So it depends upon the kind of country and how it works, the operating. So they have a robust mechanism to validate everything. So in those countries, the emergence of fintech will be a little slower compared to those countries where they don't have any kind of infrastructure. So wherein they jump into this particular fintech bandwagon very quickly, because that gives a big jump start to the different customer segments and the industry itself. And actually speaking, in India or elsewhere, a lot of banks itself, finance institution, large finance institution itself, they are coming up with their own fintech products. Okay? So because that's how they can grow, because they realize they will not grow just by sitting idle, watching others to do things. They have to either join hands with the fintech companies or come up with their own fintech. For example, take an example of Saudi itself. Everyone knows a company called Liv, LIV, right? So this is basically fintech from NBD, Emirates NBD Bank. So they are jumping into that's targeting specifically millennials. Okay, so this is a kind of approach a lot of big finance institution also started adopting these days to really sustain and grow in the market. That's the only way they can do. So moving on. By the way, there is difference between the customer adoption and the growth in the fintech itself. This is I'm talking about customer adoption. Means it is a person of people in India and China adopting fintech. They are using fintech solutions, but it doesn't mean that of course means that there are a lot of fintechs are there. But if they're not adopted, doesn't mean that there are not many fintech companies. For example, UK is the powerhouse of fintech in the Europe. They are the pioneer. But adoption may be a little less. But they have a lot of top fintech companies in the world, by the way. And coming back to the Saudi Arabia, so this is an example I'm just putting. As we discussed, Saudi as a late starter in the fintech space. Now, this is basically some of the companies. It's not a complete list, just a selected list of companies who just raised funds for this year. The amount could be very small compared to the international, values. But again, this, as I mentioned, this is like a early stage of fintech growth in the country, and you can easily see from the funding stage. So, for example, Lean Technology. This is the company who raised maximum funding for this year, which is around 13 million riyal they raised for this year. They are in the seed funding stage, which means technically an angel investor could have invested in this one. Okay, And if you see other companies, many companies are in the pre-seed stage, which is basically friends and family stage. And some of the companies are still in the testing phase, not necessarily into the market yet. For example, Lean Technology. Lean Technology is not really a fintech service provider. Basically, they are a platform provider for fintech companies. So actually, fintech not necessarily means that you have to provide always a specific service. Fintech also considers those infrastructure services which facilitate companies to provide a fintech service itself. For example, if you say a simple example, I would say a bank as a service. I'm offering as a bank as a service cloud platform. Simple. I'm doing a big example nevertheless, but again, just for the understanding, I'm telling it's a bank as a service, which is a massive one. So that company itself not necessarily offering a fintech solution, but again, this enables others to offer the solution, leveraging the data, leveraging some of the existing APIs they already have to and make it faster into the market. Okay. And for example, another company called Lendo, probably many of you are aware of Lendo. Lendo is basically invoice, a discount platform, okay, which will facilitate all the small and medium businesses to raise funds, whatever needed for the working capital, against an invoice. If you say I have a company A who has receivables of maybe $1 million, and generally takes to either expand or to for the operation of the operational needs. So how do they know? How do they do? So this is one of the platforms where they come and say, look, guys, I have this particular receivables and I want to raise money for it, and I'm going to pay this much discount rate I'm giving, and I'm going to pay back. So this is a crowd planning platform wherein the lender will pull in interested investors, individual investors generally, and then they collect the money and they give it to this businessman, and business paybacks as agreed after 3 months or about 5 months or whatever the discount rate they agreed upon. So this is just an example. This is a lending platform. So this is kind of, in my experience, I have seen, particularly Lendo and all, I'm operating the platform. I see it's a huge investment appetite in the country, huge investment appetite, unbelievable. Because when a deal comes, before even I'm thinking of transferring money to the lender, because I need Sharia to run to do that, the deal will be closed. Within hours, it will be closed. So that kind of investment appetite is there. So, something which we should look into it and probably make use of it, possibly. Okay, let's now go into the actual fintech, understand fintech in detail. We just discussed about the fintech, what is fintech, and fintech adoption primarily, and fintech growth across the world in Saudi Arabia. Now let's understand what exactly comprises fintech. Okay, so if we say in a nutshell, fintech is comprised of different segments, key domains, I would say, which is primarily, as I mentioned, payment, transfers, digital banking, alternative lending, financial management, insurtech, which is insurance technology, and wealth management, crypto and blockchain, which is the new developments. I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of the cryptocurrencies. That is a new trend, and RegTech, which is regulated technology. So these are all one of the core components of the fintech, or I would say subdomains of the fintech landscape. And primarily, I just want to highlight what are we discover technologies. So I want to make clear what technologies that we really use in the fintech space. These are the key technologies, notwithstanding this is the only technology, but there are many technologies to be used, but these are the most important technologies that are used right now. For example, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, IoT, blockchain, robotic process automation, augmented reality, virtual reality. Can you believe augmented and virtual reality are used in fintech, which is unthinkable. Even I never thought about this can be used in fintech space. Mobile technologies, obviously, and the new one development is 5G technologies. 5G technology is going to probably revolutionize the fintech space itself. These are the key technologies that fintech is making use of it to provide better services to the consumers. Now let's go briefly each and every subdomain of the fintech space, so that I get a clear picture in a way. So we talk about payments and transfer. This comprises almost more than 2/3 of the overall fintech ecosystem across the world. At least minimum 2/3 of the fintech ecosystem is comprised of the payments and transfers. And what it means, payments and transfers, as you all know, payment gateways or the payment wallets. Example of payment wallets, you all know, Apple Pay, HTC Pay. There are plenty of other payment wallets in the country already there. Outside the country in India, like Paytm. In Africa, if you say M-Pesa, there are plenty of wallets out there. And digital currencies. Digital currencies are primarily meant as a prepaid wallets. Basically, there are two different types of wallets. One, digital wallets, like Apple Pay and all these things. HTC Pay is a kind of a prepaid wallet, wherein you put the money, deposit the money beforehand itself. So that's a digital currency, which I think Saudi Arabian government, SAMA itself, is going to come with its own digital currency, by the way. And actually, China is launching a digital currency, by the way. The first country to launch digital currency on behalf of yuan. And then is the cashless payments. What do you mean by cashless payments? Primarily is the online payments, mobile payments, point-of-sale payments. It's any payments that you don't use any cash or consider cashless payments, and decentralized payments. Payments that are distributed. What exactly it means? Decentralized payments. Decentralized payments is a payments that uses the technology called blockchain, wherein it's primarily used to have a quick settlement and no reconciliation needed. Means that if you do international transfers, okay, right now you have it takes a lot of time, as a process. You have SWIFT and all the other mechanisms to really transfer the money to the international banks. It takes a lot of time to really move the money and go to your account. Wherein the decentralized payment systems, it's just instantly your money is moved to your account wherever your account is, irrespective of whether within the country or outside the country. It doesn't matter. By the way, SAMA has already done a proof of concept using a blockchain called Ripple, and they did a POC, and they did some test with with some bank. I think Arab National Bank. I couldn't recall it exactly. But anyway, it's not moving yet. But Saudi British Bank had already implemented this feature, and I think they already launched or going to launch. I'm not exactly sure about it right now. But they have done with the same Ripple. They developed this particular international remittance using decentralized payment system, blockchain. This some of the companies in Saudi Arabia is a company working on this payment, the fintechs in the payment and currency exchange space. I just mentioned all those companies like Gidia, ITS, Alinma Pay, STC Pay. There are plenty of other local and international companies are listed in this, but not necessarily everything is currently operational. There are some companies already registered in a development phase. Some companies are in the testing phase. Some companies are already operational. So don't take everything is operational right now, but you need to do proper. Just for explanation, I'm just telling these are the companies that is already available in the country at whatever state it is. Next is alternative lending. Alternative lending is a very interesting one part of fintech. As I briefly mentioned earlier, this is where it makes a big advantage, significant advantage on empowering the small and medium businesses. See, generally what happens is small and medium businesses.
Actually, this is the key thing we need to go on, because most of our business people are struggling with the cash flow or working capital and other things and all. So I want you to really focus on this one to empower how we can secure funds more on this kind of a technology. And secondly, also you have to enlighten our group tab as a group how we can start our own funding methodology. So there are two aspects. So we can go on one, how we can take the fund from the different peer-to-peer funding. And second, if we start our own lending option, so how this is going to work. So you split into two. So this will definitely enlighten our members in a different way.
Okay, good, sure. Inshallah, I'll try to do my best. Alternative lending, first of all, we need to see the problem, why this is successful. Generally, first problem is the unable to access money. First of all, not easy access to the money for the businesses. Okay, large businesses, I totally understand. I do remember in those days wherein we put an agreement with SAMA, and the first thing that we do is to take the contract and put it as a collateral into the bank and then get the loan. Simple as such. Very simple. Big company, HP, we get easily the money, as simple as that. But think of a company, a small and medium businesses. who goes to the bank and asks for the same kind of a loan. It's not that easy. It's a big process. They may not be ignored sometimes. It's a painful exercise for them. So this is one of the biggest bottleneck. And also, second thing is the decision making for to lend the money from the banking side. A lot of due diligence has to happen. Collateral verifications and all these things. It's also a very time-consuming task. So wherein this fintech is coming as it's a gift for this small and medium businesses, wherein you don't need to worry about access to the credit. It is there. How you're going to approach and get it, what it matters. To be aware, how to reach out to them, how to get it done is what matters. This is how it is. Currently, there are different ways alternative lending on the work function. Okay. Alternative lending means the name itself implies other than anything bank lending is alternative lending, simple as such, right? So basically first and foremost is online marketplace. Online marketplace means what? Okay, now I'm having a crowdfunding platform. Like I just briefed about Lendo both experiment. Lendo actually it's a invoice discount platform. For example, there is a company called Forus. I mentioned the Forus first company Forus. It's a very new company in Saudi market. Forus. What it does is that it doesn't care about the invoices. As a business, you just go in there, register yourself, and ask for whatever the money that you want to grow your business or whatever the needs. You just ask for the money. Okay. Of course, then they do some basic validation of your business itself when you register. Obviously, that's expected. Your credit scoring will be there, and all these things they will verify. Obviously, and then once you agree to that, then they will float this particular. You need a money. They will float into the to the investors registered to the particular platform, and this registered investors. Then based on the interest, you may say, okay, and I mentioned something about empowering the SMB. Here, the key here is, if you go to a bank will generally dictate the terms here, right? Like how much is your interest rate, how much you have to return, all these things they decide. But in this case, here investors doesn't decide it, because investors are crowd and of the individual. It's an individual investors. That's why I call crowdfunding. Now the company decides. For example, if a company says I need $1 million, fine, and I will say, okay, fine, I have a capacity to pay back 24% per annum. Means like, okay, fine, they're ready to pay 24% per annum. So, but I will pay back in 3 months. Means that 6% in 3 months I can pay back. If you have the capacity to do so, then you mention that. Okay. And the investor can choose, okay, fine, I have a company A, company B, company C. There are multiple companies, they may need funding, and he decides which company can give better returns based on the risk he can take on the companies, and he decides to invest this money. Okay, so you are putting what will be what you can give back to the investor, and accordingly investor take decisions. That's why it's a marketplace, online marketplace, purely a crowdfunding based. And the other one is the P2P lending. It's not necessarily a crowdfunding as a one-to-one. All this is an individual to individual or a company to company. We can always, they can have they always have a platform to market the needs of your company, or the money needs to borrow the money, and the individuals or some other investment companies or whatever it is, they can ready to invest that particular money for you. Okay, that's another way. And also this could be in a different approaches. P2P lending is a huge area. But each and everything itself is a huge topic itself. We cannot discuss everything in this session. For example, P2P lending itself is in a different approach. Generally, P2P lending point of view, it will be primarily, equity crowdfunding. It's called generally sometimes. So it means that you give a float a share, you pay the money for a equivalent share. If the investor agrees to it, he is going to buy this your share. For example. And also another advantage of this particular way of doing things, equity crowdfunding, is it creates the value for a company. That's a very, very important point. People, it's all hidden things. For example, there's a company called Mond. It's basically a mobile-only bank in UK. In 2016, they went for an equity crowdfunding. They raised £1 million within 96 seconds. Within 96 seconds, they raised £1 million. it shows the value of Mondo. So everybody was just behind this Mondo to put the money in. Okay, that's create a brand for the particular company itself. So the value of the company just jumps like anything. So this is another way that you are really establishing and empowering your company itself, not just by borrowing itself, and also the value for the company itself. You are trying to bring it. If you can pull in big investors into your portfolio, okay, and and also alternative lending point. A very important thing that is to be considered is the credit scoring mechanism. Okay, I mentioned that they will do some kind of due diligence of these companies. Banks, how generally do, for example, in Saudi Arabia, they have a credit bureau, SEMA, and they get some, a report from them, and then, again, they have your existing customer, they do verify the transactions and do some kind of a calculation to do some credit scoring mechanism. But that's not enough. That's not enough. Based on the standard study, and if you do an alternative data, credit scoring using alternative data, you have a better results, at least 27% more accurate, than the conventional credit rating. Okay, this has been proven. Study has been done recently, and it's been proven. So it means that what is those alternative data? Alternative data is just not the standard your buy, sell, your bank transaction values. No, that's not the only one. Basically, it could be your kind of your education, your purchasing capacity, your patterns. There are so many data, social media data. Everything has been taken, analyzed through artificial intelligence, machine learning, and come up with a particular score. There are many softwares specialized in doing this itself. Many companies are specialized in doing itself. And this is one of the key parameters for judging a particular company in the alternative lending space. This is very important. In Saudi Arabia, to my knowledge, at least there's nothing like that so far yet. This, as I mentioned, very early stage. Like Forus is there, Lendo is there, and there are other companies out there, but they are very, very early stage, and they don't have much of what do you call it as attraction, except for Lendo. Lendo is quite good, doing good, and still it's not that much. But however, they are just budding right now. And also, apart from this, as I mentioned about the equity fundraising, like there are companies like Scooper. Scooper is quite old. I mean, 2-3 years old company. Scooper is there. Manafa is there. There are quite a good companies. They do. If you want an investment for those your business or your existing business, or you're starting up a new business, you can always get fund through this platform. Raise fund through this platform. Okay, that's one. So these platforms are basically purely technology platforms. As I mentioned, these technology platforms enables to provide such services. Now, just whatever I mentioned are just examples. The way of operating could be different for different countries and different kind of cultural ecosystems. Everything matters. For example, I would say a lending point of view. Personally, if you compare to India and Saudi Arabia, fintech in the lending space in India will be more successful than in Saudi Arabia, because banking is more efficient in Saudi Arabia compared to India. So it means that it takes a little longer time basically. So it all depends upon the overall environment ecosystems, technology ecosystems in this country. That has to be also considered. And for last but not least, it's a customer journey. You need to have a digitized customer journey. Now I can register, I can take money as a businessman, or I can, as an individual, I can invest money as a lender online. I don't need to have personally visit to any places, anywhere. I just sit in my computer or my mobile. I can do all this transaction within minutes. Simple as such. That's the beauty of the fintech eventually. So that's how it completely works. Now coming back to the question of how can we leverage this particular, we can do kind of funding. Fine. See, there are different ways that we can do. As primarily, I would say, as an investor. For example, there are people who has money and people who will be needing money, right? As a businessman within the group. For example, take example of a TAB group itself. Some people wants to invest and get money out of the money, grow the money, and some people doing business, they may need some money. What they can do is basically right now what we'll do individually, the people, so you can borrow the money from them and pay back. That's the traditional way. I'm not talking about that. Now the way you can do is that you can formalize. For example, if you say I'm having a VC fund, investment fund, I create a VC fund, or I create a or SPV, special purpose vehicle, I register SPV. A group of individuals can put put in their money. For example, I would say 2 million, 3 million real, fund I want to create, and this fund can be leveraged for this particular lending approach. Or we can always create a new company itself. That's the startup itself. That's a huge possibility, obviously. But apart from that, as an investor, you can always do that to formalize, streamline the investment process, as well as that. And investing as a borrower, you can approach this particular fund, and you can get the fund through them. Okay, a lot of people do that. To my knowledge, a lot of people do. For example, recently I came across an investment opportunity for a company called Wahed. I'm pretty sure many people knowing Wahed, which is a halal investment company. It's a wealth management company, by the way. It's a pretty big company in US and UK, and they are launching in many other countries, including Saudi Arabia. They got licensed this year in Saudi Arabia. They got licensed in Malaysia, India this year. They already have a license for all those countries. This is a huge halal investment model. They have it, and they raised their capital. It's a fast-growing company. So some of my friends who invested through launching SPV, they registered an SPV, and then they invested $2 million into it. Because as an individual, it's very hard for us to invest that much money. It's always better to form a kind of such a fund or an SPV to launch it. Especially an LLC, you launch it and then you invest through them in these companies. That's how it's a better way to really leverage this technology and make money out of it. Okay, I hope I answered your question in this front.
Yeah, that's pretty much clear. Some questions already come to me. However, what is the next level of FinTech? அதோட அடுத்த பரிமாணம் எப்படி இருக்கும் நீங்க அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நீங்க எவ்வளவு இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க FinTechல?
Yeah, I invested money, of course. But see, the thing is that is I can take on the risk-taking capabilities of the individual, right? See, some of these fintechs, frankly speaking, புது fintechs லாம் வந்துட்டு returns அந்த அளவுக்கு கிடையாது, frankly speaking, because the market is very, very new at this point of time. It's not matured yet. So the returns வரும்போது it's not that great. It's not very, very attractive at this point of time. So for example, if I say I invested, I got 6% return, which is I felt it's nothing. I'm taking that much risk. So anyways, it's a decent one. But actually, if I invest, that way, best way is not to invest in a company for as a consumer, okay, but invest on a company itself, not as a transaction within the company. What I mean to say is that as a consumer, okay, you register in a for example, take off Lindo, you register with Lindo, and then you put your money there, and some kind of opportunity comes in, you deposit the money, pay the money, and then get back after 3 months. That way you will not get good money. But however, you invest on Lindo itself, in a series funding, or right now they are thinking pre-seed funding. In the seed funding, series funding stage, you invest on the company itself. That's how this SPV will help us. When you have SPV, you can say, okay, I have 5 million real SPV, and I will invest 5 million real. By the way, SPV is only for one company. We can do one investment only. So it means that 5 million real investing on the Lindo itself. When the seed stage of investing, when it goes to Series A, Series B, maybe Series D, you want exit plan of Series D. Maybe this 5 million real will become 50 million real. You just come out in a few years in the Series D. It's a process. That's how you make more money. So that is the best preferred approach. The problem is, as an individual, it's very hard to do.
Yeah, that's
unless you are angel investor.
No, angel investment, we need a lot of money to invest. So, and the விஷயத்துக்கு நாங்க வரல இப்ப. most of the business people என்னன்னா either small and medium entrepreneurs அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கனால, so we always require a kind of funding that enriches our working capital. And இது primarily இன்னொரு கொஸ்டின் பாஷா. இப்போ சின்ஸ் சவுதி அரேபியாவில் உள்ள மானிட்டரி டெஃபினிஷன் வேற, அதே நம்ம அந்த இந்தியா கொண்டு போனால் அந்த பேங்கிங் அண்ட் மானிட்டரி டெஃபினிஷன் வேற. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், இங்கே வந்துட்டு கம்ப்ளீட்லி இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வந்துட்டு இட் இஸ் அபாலிஷ்ட். ஸோ அது இந்தியாவுக்கு போகும்போது there is even if you put in a savings bank, ஒரு மினிமம் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வந்துட்டு தான் இருக்கும். ஸோ இந்த ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் ரீசன்னால இங்கே ஃபண்டு நிறைய கிடைக்குதா, இல்லை இந்தியாவில் அதோட டைமென்ஷன் வேற மாதிரி இருக்கா? I hope I'm distinguishing between the two geographies where you have.
It's like, again, as I said, it all the same business model, same thing, but it's entirely different. For example, the term, famous term, everything is same, but everything is different, right? This exactly suits the fintech. Okay, everything is same. உங்களுக்கு வந்து payments ஆகட்டும், lending ஆகட்டும், be it investment, everything is same end of the day, but everything is different. The simple is how exactly business model will be entirely different. The technology is the way you do entirely different. So it's at the high level it looks same, but however when you go in depth it's completely different. So இங்க வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா Islamic contextல வரும்போது, for example, the model is same. If you go for Forus or any other crowdfunding platforms, they generally claim that they have this halal certificate, they fall under Murabba, so they have this kind of certificate they're getting. Okay, so but however it's if you compare that, the interests are, it looks like interest obviously, but the way they approach is totally different. They have some kind of asset allocated along with it, how exactly how the Murabba dictates, accordingly they do it. This is how they claim they do it. Okay, wherein in India you don't have that kind of a compulsion, so they can do whatever the way they need it. Obviously, again, it's all reasonable. It's not unreasonable one. Okay, first of all, as a smart investor, you need to look into a reasonableness of the value itself. What exactly you are borrowing, what you're going to pay back, and it should be reasonable enough. As an investor, you should be reasonable enough to understand, what is the risk involved. The more the risk, the more the gain. End of the day, you get it right. That's exactly suits here as well. For example, if I say I have a company with rating A, wherein they may returns 74%, but however a company of rating C, they may ready to give me 10% return, but the chances of getting money back on A is sure, 100% sure. But from C, 80% is sure, but 20% I don't know. Okay, so it's upon the risk taken by individual, investor themselves. So it's all different business model, business regulations. By the way, coming to the regulations, as you asked something like a different countries have different approaches. Actually speaking, there are no regulations properly defined for fintech yet. That's the gray area that most of the fintech businesses are operating right now. Generally, thumb rule is in case of for example, lending or payments or any other fintech solutions, whatever the existing regulations available for such businesses, it applies by default. But however, it's very hard to operate under the regulatory environment, frankly. So that's the reason the support of central banks is very important. Okay? I think RBI has done a tremendous job in that front in India. That's why Indian fintech space is huge. I mean, they are matchless. India and China are the pioneers in Asia in fintech space. Wherein here, Saudi Arabia central bank had launched sandbox environment specifically for this purpose, and a CMA, Central Markets Authority, they came and launched a fintech lab itself. These primarily are to test, validate the solution and to regulate, you understand the regulation and to put a regulation for these fintechs. That's how SAMA and the CMA are working on this. Capital Markets Authority, yes, CMA, they're working on this. And this means they're providing a conducive environment to grow the fintech space and to ensure it's one of the key agenda for them, part of the Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia. So they want the multiple fintechs to come in and start the company here, the international companies or the local build companies. Believe me, in last 3 years, the fintech there are more than 60 fintech companies are already in Saudi Arabia. Okay, I'm not sure how many you really know about it. So more than 60 companies are already in Saudi Arabia, and some of the companies I'm listing, all the companies I'm listing in the slides are purely Saudi companies. I mean, Saudi, most of them are Saudi companies and international companies operating in Saudi as well.
No, these are all basically peer-to-peer lending, or how they are.
So in this slide, whatever it is, are all pure lending companies. For example, lending and finance are pure lending companies, all of them. But I repeat again, all of them are not operational yet. Okay.
Okay. So now the case is like this, Basha. For example, see, most of our members itself, they are at this and the Corona situation on the cash flow crisis. Orders either cancelled or postponed, and fixed cost வந்துட்டு பயங்கரமாக எகிரிடுச்சு. ஸோ இந்த சமயத்தில் வந்துட்டு இப்போ ஒரு ஃபைனான்சிங் ஆப்ஷன் பேங்க் போனால் there are a lot of questions நீங்கள் முன்னே மென்ஷன் பண்ண மாதிரி. இப்போ we need a fund to survive or to manage our working capital. So on the working capital, what is the best suggestion you will say in the situation? Which platform or which company, or how far it is easy? What you would suggest?
See, well, I don't want personally recommend any companies per se.
Personal recommendation, at least
frankly
you have
speaking,
some kind of.
But however, as I mentioned, there are quite a few companies coming through, like Forus. Forus is one company which is budding, and either company in Pakistan. And there are, well, I could not out of the box,
no problem. We can have another session only focusing on lending options only. So either
so in the company, they can, but they have a limit. It's not like you cannot. The problem is there's a new companies, and there are certain restrictions as a regulatory practice. They have restrictions. You cannot ask for 10 million riyals. I want and do no way. They are not allowed to do happen. Okay. There are certain limits that you can claim, you can ask for from them, and up to the popularity of these companies also matters. For example, Lendo is quite popular, but other companies like Forus, it's budding. It's very early right now, so means a lot of people are now registering into this and trying to get popular. Once that is there from the investor point of view, then it's much easier to get this money. But at this point of time, I would say it's still not there yet to really make use of it. You're getting a point, right? So yeah, you can try these companies, but it's not like you're guaranteed to get the money at this point of time, at least in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so that's the key. But people are working on it. People are okay. Maybe in 6 months down the line, things will completely change.
Okay, man. So one more critical question. So what is the percentage of risk these companies are taking, and how much risk we can take as an investor?
See, generally this platform never take risks.
Okay.
They just put risk on the investors. Again, that's a question mark, a big question mark when you go for license with SAMA. So who is liable? Who wants the liability? Who underwrites it? Basically, who underwriting mattering question. Okay. So, first of all, in the technology comes in big bricks. As I mentioned earlier, a credit scoring mechanism is very, very, very important in this case. Okay, repay panna mudiyuma mudiyadandradha first judge panna. First of all, okay, they do have this kind of alternate data. They will almost predict. They are predictive analytics. They will predict that what is the percentage of you can repay. Once they find that you are not eligible to repay, okay, then they will not return you. So that's very simple. So, but if they predict that you can able to repay, then you can easily avail the fund. It's not a big deal. So this is how it works in this space. The technology on the world. So risk in the platform generally they try to avoid the risk. For example, if a fintech is under a bank partnered fintech, or sometimes it happens a bank instead of crowdfunding model. Bank starting a fintech, okay, exactly similar concept, but not crowdfunding. It's bank funding. On the approach, some banks are going to try wrong. So, then banks takes the underwriting. Okay, say they take the risk end of the day there. So they because investor is the bank itself. But in this case here, generally, to my knowledge, at the Lendo, they generally take investors take the risk, not the platform itself.
Okay,
but again, regulations are just getting formed. It's not,
okay.
Again, as I said, there's a lot of activities are happening in the background. Even there were I don't know how many attended Seamless conference this week, which is G20 conference in payments. You can see the people from Lendo and Forus, everyone talking about it. So they are still under the sandbox environment still. So it means that they're still studying from the regulation. So there are a lot of things still to happen in Saudi context. Again, India is a different ballgame equation. So there are depends on the business model, it varies. And again, depends on the business model also. But the key takeaway from here is withstanding that, key takeaway is you are reducing the risk in this approach. You try to reduce the risk as minimal as possible. That's how it is. That's the advantage of technology. Otherwise, there is no point. For example, I was validating a company from Sri Lanka. This company is giving a microfinance to some segment of people, particularly fishermen. I asked them, okay, how do you really evaluate? How do you do risk profile? And They said, okay, very simple formula. They said, okay, if it's a woman, okay, they higher chance of repayment, so they give for women. If a man between 25 to 40, they will not give, something like so. Some kind of based on experience, they come some kind of logic, but that's not the real, algorithm to be used. But that's not the right way. So these fintech companies doesn't approach to take that approach. They take a complete fault-proof credit scoring mechanism to really judge either judge the company, and accordingly they will pay them. Simple as such. This is how the alternate lending works, and it's a huge area itself. And by the way, it's the second biggest scope within the fintech itself, next to payments. So it's a massive, different types of lending. For example, one of the new, I'm not sure how many heard about it. They're launching a buy now, pay later concept, which is probably for if you want to go for e-commerce or even for some kind of physical stores. You say, okay, Khalas, you want to buy, but you may not have money at that point of time. Okay, so you just discarded cards are there. So the e-commerce company doesn't want that to happen. Say, Khalas, you want to buy, you don't have money, don't worry, you buy. Simple as such. And you pay in 2 weeks time frame, whatever it is. So they give some up to a loan up to some specific amount. These kind of things are getting successful. And even some companies in India, they are doing business for students, school fees, student electronic purchases, like mobiles for student want to buy. Students are not earning 1% of the day, but they're ready to give them small short-term loans. So there are different models, different companies operate. It's totally different. Every risk is associated with the kind of business model we are working on.
Okay, I don't want to take much of the time, so we are also nearing the end of the program. So my final question would be like this one. So is it the alternative lending is an alternative banking?
No. That's the misconception of a fintech generally. People think fintech will kill the banks. No way. Banks are there going to be there, and it's going to thrive, no doubt about it. Fintechs are basically complementing them in a way, and supporting them. This is how, and that's the reason banks are already nurturing a lot of fintechs. Otherwise, bank wouldn't nurture any fintechs, frankly speaking. If fintechs are a threat to the banks, no banks will nurture fintechs. For example, Live would not be started by NVD or for example, now Saudi Fransi Bank is trying to come up with their own savings fintech platform. So nobody will do that. Banks are going to be the only thing is the advantage of fintech is they, as I mentioned, disseminate that function, because banks are huge. They cannot customize the needs for an individual. For example, that's what when I was talking to my friend in the morning, I was telling, okay, look, 15 years back when I came to the country, the same 5,000 riyals limit was there when to withdraw money. Even after 15 years, same 5,000 riyals. If you take inflation component of the 5,000 riyals today, it should be somewhere here. They should at least increase to 8,000, 10,000 withdrawal limit, right? They haven't done it yet. Okay? Of course, just a joke, I'm telling this, but the thing is that, it's basically, they could easily customize for individual needs. For example, individuals with some kind of amount, with the premier customer, whatever it is, they can have different variable limits for them, those kind of things, they are not doing it, right? So these fintechs will come and help them to do such things. Simple as such. Okay. Simple term.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. We will have some kind of discussion in the coming days, like to give a solid direction between investors and lenders. So definitely we need to have some kind of a direction. So I think we will call for another one more session sooner or later. So until now, I will hand over the screen to Shahul to take further questions from the members. Shahul Amit?
Yeah, I'm with you.
By the way, we just covered two important aspects of the fintech. There are 6 more, which with lack of time, actually, I will discard it right now.
First of all, I mean, very informative. ஒரு புது விஷனை எல்லாத்துக்கும் காட்டிருக்கீங்க. இனி ஆப்வியஸ்லி இதுல கொஞ்சம் டிராவல் பண்ண வேண்டி இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நிறைய விஷயங்களை தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறது. வெரி இன்ஃபர்மேட்டிவ் பிரசன்டேஷன். பட் அதே நேரத்தில் அவர் மாலிக் சொன்ன மாதிரி அட் த அவுட் செட் நமக்கு வேண்டியது என்னன்னா, இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸினுடைய ப்ராசஸ் டு கெட் அலாங் வித் தி சிஸ்டம். அதுக்கப்புறம் லெண்டர்ஸினுடைய ப்ராசஸ் எப்படி அதில் பெனிஃபிட் அடையலாங்கிறதுல இதையும் கொஞ்சம் நீங்கள் ஈஸி அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டபிள் டாக்குமெண்ட் ஏதாவது இருந்தாச்சுன்னா கூட நம்ம குரூப்பில் வந்து ஷேர் பண்ணிக்கலாம் பிஃபோர் த நெக்ஸ்ட் மீட்டிங். அப்படி ஏதாவது இருந்துச்சுன்னா கொஞ்சம் ஷேர் பண்ணிக்கிடுங்க. அது ஒரு ரிக்வஸ்டாட்டே வைக்கிறேன். டு மூவ் ஃபர்தர், ஒரே ஒரு கொஸ்டின் இப்போ வந்திருக்கு. ஜம்ஷீர் கேட்டிருக்காப்ல, வாட் இஸ் த சிமிலாரிட்டி ஆர் டிஃபரன்ஸ் பிட்வீன் இன்வெஸ்டிங் த்ரூ எனி ததாவுல் ஆர் ஃபோரஸ், டாமட், வாஹித் எக்ஸெட்ரா? வாட் இஸ் த சிமிலாரிட்டி அண்ட் த டிஃபரன்ஸ் பேசிக்கலி?
ததாவுல்ன்றது பேசிக்கலி உங்களுக்கு வந்து ஷேர் மார்க்கெட், ரைட்? So share market, see, in the end of the day, is going to investment is same. Investment pattern is same. End of the day, okay. You invest to mutual fund, you invest to ETF or whatever you're investing through the approach. You're investing directly to Tadawul or through some of the financial institutions. You do invest there, and you invest from these guys like Wahed, like mentioned now. So what is the difference key here is first of all, the minimal investment amount. Okay, one of the biggest claim of Wahed is the low investment amount. Okay, invest just as low as $100. Okay, and what's done that there's a company called, very famous company called Robinhood. Okay, it's very popular in the investment space, fintech. You just did $1. $1 is enough to start an account with them and invest. Okay, so this is the main. You cannot go to any financial institution and say I will invest in $100. Nobody will accept you. If you want to open a mutual fund account, okay, how much you need minimum? So there are minimum requirements are there, which is not everyone can do that, first of all. Okay, and another thing, returns point of view, again, key part of this particular companies, the difference is a traditional company investing in share stock markets. What they do is that they have fund managers. Okay, they decide fund based on their experiences and the trends going on, right? But these companies have an automated mechanism using algorithm. Okay? So for example, there's something called robo-advisory. Robo-advisory is a term, it's a pretty popular term, which is used to really automatically identify which is the best products to invest your money to get the returns back. So it's automatically identifies based on the tremendous amount of data that's been collected over the years. So it automatically identifies, it decides on its own and recommends you can invest in this. It's compared to the fund managers themselves, as per the data, it's doing better than fund managers, human fund managers itself. Now a lot of companies are relying on the robo-advisory itself. Like Wahed is one example. In Saudi Arabia, they're using robo-advisory. There are many companies in the world using robo-advisory success. For example, Revolut. Revolut is basically online banking, but again, they use these robo-advisory services. So these are all use of technologies to invest. Returns again is like a speculative one. Okay, it's something like nobody can guarantee a return for. If I say I invest 100 riyals and then I have to get 200 riyals, no, it's they say always. For example, Wahed, if you go, they will say, okay, you are a high risk taker. If you're a high risk taker, they will say in return of 6 to 7% I can return. That's the return they will do. But they may return more than that. But minimum 67 they will, to be on the safer side, they will do it. Okay, no fund manager, for example, go for fund managers invest. For example, you're investing in some kind of a mutual fund. What will they will say? Okay, they will say, okay, plus 12%, 13%, but they eat up majority of the money in the service charges and all the many things, on the transaction fees and everything it goes up. So if you have if you cannot actually compare, but the way to do is that simplification of doing the trading. Here, I don't need to be an expert in anything. I don't need to know about any stocks. I don't need to worry about how it operates. I don't care about anything. All I need is go to this company and do this, and I can services and do on my own, choose on my own. Simple as it. And there's a new trend in the market coming, which is called autonomous financing. That's a big subject itself. Which is, for example, you must have heard autonomous cars. I'm not sure how many have autonomous cars, self-driving cars, I would say. So what example, okay, I have to go from point A to point B, okay. I have a route wherein I go through from point A to point B. Now, suddenly a traffic comes through, accident happens, so I have to dynamically recalculate the route and go for alternate route to reach the point destination, right? This is how autonomous cars does it. Now, the same concept, fixed in finance, autonomous finance. If I say, I have a plan to invest X amount of money for my marriage, for my child's education. You plan it, right? So I need, for example, $1 million I want in 10 years time frame. You decide tentatively. Now, no mutual fund guys can tell you, okay, this is what you're going to get at 10 years. No, nobody will tell. Simple as such. But in autonomous finance, what you can do is that I want to decide 1 million in 10 years. So tell me what are the options I have. So he will say, okay, this is all the best way to do. After over a period of time, you may not be able to invest that much money, put money. Then it will recalculate accordingly and try to provide other products as well. So it's all very dynamic. So these are the advantages without even knowing knowledge of the industry itself. Any name people can do business with the and make money through any of the stock exchanges. Simple as this. This is how the technology plays in. That's the big difference. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the next question வந்து எனக்கே இருக்கு. எனக்கு வந்து இப்போ ஒரு 2 million அல்ல 3 million லோன் எடுக்கணும். அதாவது ஃபின்டெக் ப்ராடக்ட் நான் எப்படி அப்ரோச் பண்றது, எப்படி எடுக்கிறது? நான் நினைக்கிறேன் இதுதான் நிறைய பேர் எதிர்பார்க்கிற क्वेश्चन நினைக்கிறேன்.
As I mentioned, if you are an individual asking for money as a small and medium, I mean individual company, as a business, you want to do it, you have to go for a crowdfunding platforms. Simple. That's the best way you can do. But again, as I mentioned, 2-3 millions with the existing Saudi crowdfunding platforms is highly unlikely to do at this point of time.
அதுக்கு collateral என்ன?
2-3 million collateral எல்லாம் கிடையாது. அதனால தான் உங்களுக்கு அமௌண்ட் கொடுக்க மாட்டாங்கன்னு சொல்றேன். See, for example, Forus doesn't have any collateral. As simple as such. They only rely on your credit rating, accurate credit rating. Okay, so no collateral is needed for that. Okay, and see, there are some companies, even some fintechs have a collateral. Okay, for example, a company like Revolut, they do. I think Revolut, if I remember correctly, in UK they do against a property. Sometimes they do it. Okay, but again here Forus doesn't go for collateral. And again, for example, lender goes for your invoice. Invoice is a collateral in this case. Okay, so this is the way. But 2-3 million, Saudi Arabia, to my knowledge, you cannot using any other fintech right now. You cannot do. It's a pretty big money at this point of time because markets are mature. But India, yes, possibly yes.
Okay, so
but however, as I mentioned, you can form.
இல்ல இங்க ஃபெசிலிட்டிஸ் அவைல் பண்றதோட நம்ம இந்தியால ஈஸிங்கறீங்க.
இப்போதைக்கு yes, I'm talking about right now at this moment. After 1 year things may different. Saudi could improve. Okay, as I said, it's very early stage of fintech ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. Okay, but India is matured. Obviously. But as I mentioned earlier, you can always form a fund. You can form an investment fund. You can become your own VC. Okay, and through the VC you can get the fund in this case. Okay, for example, you form a division under TUB as a whatever venture capital fund. You create it, something like that. You know, from that fund you can get the different businesses within the circle, and then you can fund them based on the business study. End of the day.
Okay. Any other question? யாருக்கா இருக்கீங்களா? ஜம்ஷித் கேள்விகள் இருக்கா?
அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும் வரஹ்மத்துல்லாஹி. இப்போ என்னோட क्वेश्चन என்னன்னாக்கா, இப்போ இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பிளாட்ஃபார்மை வந்து தொடங்கிறதுக்கு வந்து என்ன மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் இந்த பிளாட்ஃபார்முக்கு என்ன பெனிஃபிட் இருக்கு இந்த மாதிரி சர்வீஸ் ப்ரொவைட் பண்றவங்க, அது இல்லாம இந்த மாதிரி பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றதுக்கு என்ன மாதிரி பேக்ரவுண்ட் வந்து தேவைப்படுது?
பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் தொடங்குறதுல क्वेश्चन இது. It's anybody can start a platform, frankly speaking. Okay, anybody can start a platform. All they need to do is that go and register with SAMA, okay, and or CMA. என்ன மாதிரி நீங்க பண்ண போறத பொறுத்து நீங்க வந்து ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணிக்கணும், அவ்வளவுதான். And you run in their on their ecosystem to get license. Simple as such. What benefits of this platform? Anyways, of course, the business end of the day. So you need to come up with your own business model to operate this platform, right? So generally, platforms end up they take some percentages. They have a percentages agreement between the not with the investor, with the business who are borrowers. Lenders to borrowers, they have some kind of a percentage agreement. இப்போதைக்கு இன்னைக்கு தேதிக்கு உள்ள Saudi fintechs எதுவுமே வந்து they don't charge any money. They are operating on their own cost. They are spending their own invest money. they're not gaining any revenue from that so far because they are established first. Once they're established, they will take their commissions. For example, take an example STCP. I'm not sure how STCP is really taking any commissions right now. Okay? I think still not, to my knowledge. But in Paytm, equal to Paytm in India. Paytm, everything now they take some commissions from the merchants for every transaction that you make. That transaction, that commission is very less compared to a credit card transaction. For example, credit card போய் நீங்க point of sale யூஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா as simply that's a huge money. 100 ரியால் வாங்கனா almost you have to pay 2 ரியால் to 4 ரியால் pay பண்ணணும். Number depends upon size of holding transaction for the merchant. But நீங்க wallet யூஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா it will very very minimal. It's like 50 halal or 50.5% depends upon the business will do. So that's an advantage for the merchant. As an end customer, overall the end of the day we are going to absorb that cost. No merchant is going to give their money, right? You're going to pass on to the consumers. Okay. So this way we will also benefit if indirectly. In the model, all commission based.
ஒரு அப்சர்வரா நான் இப்போ இந்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்கறேன்னு வச்சுங்களேன். இப்போ பேடிஎம்ஏ எடுத்துக்கிட்டாலும் கூட பேடிஎம் வந்து அது ஒரு பிளாட்ஃபார்மா இல்ல பேடிஎம் இஸ் ஆபரேட்டிங் அண்டர் எனி அதர் பிளாட்ஃபார்ம்?
Paytm has its own platform. Okay, because Paytm is just not a wallet alone. Now they're going for a bank itself. Okay, they're getting license for a bank. If not, they got it already. If I'm not wrong. But now, for example, take an STCP. India, Paytm, STCP thing. STCP itself is a platform. Okay, STCP just started as a wallet. It's still a wallet primarily. And using STCP, you can send money. Okay, they're tied up with Western Union. You can do money transfer also. Okay, and now they initially went for a partnership. I think they're going alone now to be a challenger bank. They are starting their own challenger bank. I mean, challenger bank means it's a general fintech term used for a bank that's challenging an existing bank, conventional banking system. So, but anyway, it means that they're starting their own bank, fully mobile only bank, online bank, mobile only bank, simple as such. No personal branches at all. Branches எதுவுமே இருக்காது. STC bankனா ஒரு branch கூட சவுதி அரேபியால இருக்காது. Everything is through mobile only. அப்படிதான். So இந்த மாதிரி போறாங்க. Excuse me.
அவங்க கார்ட்ஸ் கூட இஷ்யூ பண்றாங்க like a bank.
Yeah, they will eventually issue the cards. Yes, and the cards could be digital cards. That's the new trend coming through. No physical cards, plastic cards, digital cards. So there are different things depends upon model. As I mentioned, it's a platform. They are having their own platform, and also tomorrow another people, for example, some other company comes with their own wallet. Okay, they can leverage their platform for their advantage also. But one challenging in fintech, big challenge is cost of customer acquisition is very high. So, for example, I mentioned about robo-advisory a while back, right? Robo-advisory services on the in typically a lot of robo-advisory companies are wind down in Europe. One of the simple reason is the cost of customer acquisition went about $200 to $300 each customer. It's not a small money, right? So, but again, in STCP country company advantage now, it's very very low. Cost of customer acquisition very low because they already have a wide number customer base. The STC customers already. It's a matter of convincing them to convert into a existing STC customers to a wallet customer. Simple as such. So that way they have very limited, cost of customer acquisition. So that way,
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Basha. I think you have a lot to say, but within very limited time. Anyway, it's a time to wrap up the meeting. So we can have another one big session in detail about each and every domain you have it. So let us definitely, with the short gap, we can have one more session. I would like to invite Jamshid to say word of thanks on behalf of Tamil Nadu Business Forum. He is our Executive Director residing in Eastern Province. So Jamshid. Unmute பண்ணிட்டு பேசுங்க.
Yeah, it's really a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks in this memorable occasion. முதற்கண் திரு பாஷா அவர்களுக்கும் டாப் உறுப்பினர்கள் மற்றும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை ஜூம் வாயிலாக பார்த்துட்டு இருக்க எல்லா டிஸ்டிங்கிஷ்டு பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் அனைவருக்கும் இறைவனுடைய சாந்தியும் சமாதானமும் உண்டாவதாக. எவ்வுதுரைவது உலகம் அவ்வுதுரைவது உலகத்தோடு அவ்வுதுரைவது காண்பதறிவுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு வள்ளுவர் வந்து உலகத்தோட பொருந்தி வாழ்வதை பத்தின இந்த குரல் வந்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு ரொம்ப பொருந்தும் நான் நம்புறேன். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அண்ட் ஃபார்மோஸ்ட் நம்முடைய முக்கிய விருந்தினர் திரு பாஷா, சீனியர் ரிசர்ச் மேனேஜர் ELM சவுதி அரேபியா அவர்களுக்கு, டேப் மற்றும் இந்த ஜூம் வாயிலாக பார்த்துட்டு இருக்க எல்லா பார்ட்டிசிபெண்ட் அவர்கள் சார்பாக நான் வந்து நன்றியை தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். டேபுடைய உறுப்பினர்கள் மற்றும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை வந்து சிறப்பாக செஞ்சிட்டு இருக்கக்கூடிய டேப் நிர்வாகிகள் அவர்களுக்கு என்னுடைய நன்றியை தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். மேலும் my heartfelt thanks to all the distinguished invitees, participants who are watching this meaningful event. In fact, my heartfelt thanks. மேலும் இது போல மேலும் பல நல்ல நிகழ்ச்சியை வந்து டேப் நடத்தணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு நான் வாழ்த்து விடைபெற்றேன். நன்றி.
Thank you very much. Let us close the meeting. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let us meet in another meeting. நல்ல enthusiastic meetingல meet பண்ணுவோம். Inshallah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the patience you all had it to listen to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, boss. பேங்க் போலாம், பேங்க்ல அக்கௌண்ட் ஓபன் பண்ணி வச்சிட்டீங்க இப்போ.
இனியுள்ள காலங்கள் அப்படிதான் வரும். சிப் வச்சுட்டு நீ அக்கௌண்ட் ஓபன் பண்ணிடலாம்ல கையில.
ஆமாமா.
You know what? This is not a joke. In Switzerland already வந்து லான்ச் பண்ணிட்டாங்க இத. You have inserted the chip in your arm, you know, கட்டவரலுக்கு பின்னாடி நீங்க chip insert பண்ணிக்கலாம். That's identity now. You can do transactions from there easily.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.